Welcome to Lawn Rush. So in this video, I want to talk about the most important thing to grease on your mower. If you're going to grease anything, the most important components to grease. But man, look at this shop, man. It's just taken over by baby toys. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 strollers, a wagon, a motorcycle, another stroller apparatus. It's like I really gotta just get some of this stuff out of here, man. But anyway, I want to talk about the most important components on your mower to grease. And I learned this the hard way, guys. Uh, the mower was pulling to the right a little bit, and I thought something was going on with the hydros because, I just greased, for the most part, everything that you could pretty much see. I kind of had the right idea to just grease the spindles right there and then to grease your other components. But something that I overlooked at first was greasing your front wheels. Right up here, your wheels, that bearing. That was a huge oversight for me, and it cost me a set of tires, and it had me thinking that something was wrong with the mower. And it was as simple as the bearings were starting to seize up in the front. It caused the tires to wear out in the front, and it caused the mower to feel like it was pulling and it wasn't really pulling straight. So it ended up being the case where it needed new tires, new front bearings, all that stuff, and it cost probably like $200 to get the solid tires with new bearings and everything. So that was a huge eye opener, and it was a big oversight. But it kind of got me thinking, like, if you're gonna grease something on a regular basis, maybe once a week or whatever, that's going to be your main things to think about. The things that really move constantly. That's going to be your spindles. They're going to move, they're going to spin constantly. Your wheels, they're going to spin constantly. Now, your other points, your mower deck height adjustment, it only takes a pump or two. Those, as long as your deck's moving good, those are probably okay. You know, as long as everything's still moving good. I mean, it does make kind of a mess, as you can see. Like, it's just grease everywhere because I'm maybe going a little overboard with it. On this particular mower, another good one is the deck height adjustment, because it has this threaded kind of setup here, and if you don't grease this, it gets real hard to move your deck. So it's good to go ahead and grease, take that off and grease it every once in a while. That's not on most mowers, but anything that spins, like when you're going up and down lawn striping, your your wheels are just, they're running nonstop. They're doing revolution after revolution. Whereas your deck, it just goes, it doesn't even do one full revolution. No matter how much you adjust the deck, your deck doesn't even, those components don't even do a full revolution. It's just a bushing. Obviously, you don't want them to be seized or anything, but once a week for sure, I'm gonna grease my wheels, maybe even more. I'm gonna grease my wheels, and I will say, I do notice an improvement to the mower. Just shooting a little grease in it once or twice a week in your wheels makes a huge difference. It just makes it easier for the machine to move. Let me grab a paper towel. It makes it easier for the machine to move, and it makes it actually cut a little straighter. Now, some of these newer machines don't have greasable fittings, and it's kind of interesting because they're all sealed up, and that's great, but there's, if anything were to be sealed and not greasable, I would think that it would be fine just to have all these other things with some kind of a sealed bearing. But keep the grease fittings on the spindles and keep the grease fittings on the wheels, just because of the amount of work that they do and the amount of load and stress that they're under. The environment, you're hitting water a lot of times. You're getting this mower saturated. You might have to cut in the rain. What happens underneath that deck when you are hitting wet grass? Yeah, the sealed units are great, but how good are they long term? Now, greasing my spindles more, probably more than recommended. It's not enough to where it's shooting out, because it takes a lot of grease for you to kind of pump it out of here, out of the wheels. So you know, it is a little bit messy, just the amount of grease that I'm putting here, but just like I said, once a week is good on the wheels and the spindles. Um, Maybe a little bit more if you're mowing more. We're doing residential. We're doing, you know, 8 to 10 hours a day, so we're not going crazy. A lot of starting and stopping. But if you're hitting big properties and you're starting up your machine and just going for long periods of time, I mean, if you're going 6 hours straight on a mower, 4 hours straight on a mower, or even 2 hours straight on a mower, it might be a good idea to just hit these daily. You know, it'll probably push out a lot of contaminants. And let's see here, it's not even going to, it's not pushing out, you know, of the bearing. And it did seem to kind of take up some space in there. It kind of pumped. You could see the whole thing move a little bit. So just doing that to the wheels, just because it keeps because they're spinning all the time and they're always in the environment. Now this truck, or this mower, has a sulky on it, and those wheels too get the grease as well, just because they spin just like everything else. So, you know, it helps it track straight. Believe it or not, your mower is going to track horribly if you'd let your front wheels go, and it's not going to be really easy for you to notice that the front wheels have now I like that. That's number 10 on my grease gun here, in the Milwaukee grease gun. That's number 10. It's not coming out. It's not enough for it to come out and make a mess, but it's just enough to maintain it. And I'm sure once it heats up and everything, some of it gets pushed out. But this is something that I'm doing on a regular basis too, so it's always being added in. Now I could get crazy and put more if I wanted to, but I don't need to be too crazy. And I haven't had any problems. I mean, aside from the front wheels, me forgetting those, and when I did forget the front wheels, I wasn't greasing these spindles nearly as much. I just kind of did it whenever it wasn't really on the schedule. But I never lost a spindle here. This is a Snapper Pro mower, very similar to Ferris mower, and I've never, you know, it's got about 11 to 1200 hours on it, and it's never had a spindle fail. Like the front bearings did fail because of that lack of maintenance, but I never had a spindle fail on the deck. Let's see if I can find that one. Yeah, you don't want to have an oversight here with these front wheels and greasing, because it's definitely gonna cost you. You know, these wheels are not cheap, and I can only imagine how much a spindle is. Yeah, it's probably pretty penny. Now, one thing you could probably neglect is the deck. As long as you can move it, it's probably fine. It's just messy at that point. Yeah, so that was just enough to kind of pump it up, but it didn't ooze out or nothing. Like, I don't want to make a huge mess, just keeping it in there. Now, if I really were going through and doing a detailed greasing, maybe I would go ahead and pump it up, but you know, right now this is just maintenance on a regular basis, just to keep up with it, just to make sure that everything's moving good. And guys, I'm telling you, you can feel the difference by just keeping your wheels greased up and moving good. You know, they're under just a ton of stress because of the fact that they gotta rotate. They're doing all that work. So all the work's being done by the wheels and by the spindles. They're spinning at high RPM. Spindles are definitely spinning at a high RPM. And the wheels, they're just carrying load and they're just going. So let's see, someone's texting me. But yeah, right now, guys, it's raining. But the weather report, man, kind of messed me up. It's like they called for all this rain. It's going to be 100% chance of rain from the morning to the afternoon. And now, you know, I went ahead and called everything off. And look how nice and easy that is. One hand, when this doesn't get greased, it becomes extremely difficult to turn. But as long as you grease it, it's not so bad. It's real easy, smooth. Let's see here. Oh, so I had to lower the deck in order to get to the rest of these spindles. But yeah, I don't think I'm interested in a machine that has a service-free spindle. I don't know. It just seems like it's too much stress, you know, for a sealed bearing under the conditions that they're under. I like the idea of less grease fittings, but, you know, it's probably not as important to hit some of these other components as much as I have, you know, until you know, they're not under, you know, you hit a puddle of water, your wheels, man, they could potentially go under the water or get close to, especially the sulky wheels. The front tires, but the rear tires aren't as big. The real sulky tires aren't as big, so you know those are getting water in them. So the spindles, I wouldn't be surprised if they got water in them, just because of the fact that they are under. That goes all the way under there. There's a spindle down in there. Make sure that's not coming out. Can't forget the middle one. Whoa, look at that. I think I found something here. Metal in the tire. Man, what yard has this in it? Not cool. Man, I gotta get some pliers to get that out. But yeah, that is, in my opinion, the most important things to think about. Anything that's gonna move. It's hard to get off of there with all that extra. Anything that's gonna move constantly, non-stop, spinning components that have grease fittings, things that just make life easier, like the handle. But, you know, these things, these deck height, maybe save some of the mess if possible. But comment below. Tell me what you think. Hope to hear from you soon. And have a great day. Bye.